I'm William, I'm not William.
Wow, good job.
I got it wrong right away. I'm Joey.
I'm William.
And I'm Dallas.
We're gonna talk about the TV show Zoo.
You're listening to Zoo, the show, the podcast.
Zoo.
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 Fight or Flight.
Episode 2.
Episode 2, which opens with, we have like sort of a theme song now. An actual like theme. Well, I mean like at the start it's just them again like saying like, hey, in case you weren't getting the premise of the show, it's all animals attack all humans.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
they had that, and then they had like a mini scene, and then they had another theme song.
yeah, they had a couple of scenes and then they did like a full theme like music thing. But so there's 2 theme moments where he just comes out and explains things, and then there's a song later. Opening scene, we pick up right where we left off, back at the cat tree. We unfortunately don't get to see any children get mauled by cats right that second.
Yes.
But they are standing at the tree and sort of arguing over what could happen. And Mitch, the scientist,
the pathologist slash everyman.
Yeah, he also went to medical school, we learned.
Yes, later on it's revealed that he's an actual
real doctor.
like
for human people.
And also for animal people.
And then he sees honeysuckle at the base of the tree, and he's like, well, that explains it.
Yeah.
Which is a very weird thing, because like they go on explaining that the cats sometimes do this, I guess.
Cats sometimes come together. It's called a clouder. And he shows off by being like, this is what it's called when a group of cats come together. Yeah. He's like, this is what I learned in all my medical school.
And then he just berates this woman for wanting to call animal services.
Yeah. He's like, what? For cats?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the problem here. Mitch is kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
He kind of is.
He's a little bit like, even later when he sort of like starts to agree with her, he still sounds like really like derisive.
He doesn't want to be there like, at all.
Yeah.
And he turns away from the cats, and one drops down. It's a jump scare. It's like the first like scene in a horror movie where like and it's just a cat just lands on him, and then
the floodgates open at that point.
It's just you see in the foreground just cat falling out of the tree, and they run off, and she's like, "Do you think they?" And he's like, "Heard you call the people?" Which now we know 100% they heard her call. Animal control.
Even at the time, I was like, they definitely...
Yeah.
They're pissed. They're visibly angry at her.
So we know that all animals understand English now, which is worrisome. And then the cats all run off, and we see them running into their own homes and going up and all like sitting next to children and just like like sleeping children and just laying on them, just sort of like getting our fear of like a child getting mauled by a cat,
which we've been waiting on this whole time.
It's a hostage situation with the whole world.
Mm-hmm. And then we go back to Botswana, and it feels like the start of this episode feels like ages ago.
Oh god!
Because
that is one thing this show does, is that it is only like an hour long, like 40, 50 minutes, but it feels like days.
I was so tired at the end. I was like, I can't believe I have to rehash what happened. And he's in prison because if you don't remember, he pissed off a rich person, which does get you put in prison.
And or at least in a holding cell.
Yeah, he's and he talks his way out of it
immediately.
Like he's like, we have to go figure out what those lines are doing, and the guy's like, damn it, okay.
I guess.
Yeah, like generally it's like the rule of threes, and it's like, we got to do this. No, but we gotta. No, we really gotta. Okay.
Or something.
But this one, he's like, we got to do this. Like, Yeah,
But
okay.
even after he lets him out, he still doesn't, like, it's not like he believes him. He's like, you're still full of shit, Jackson
Yeah.
Oz.
Yeah. But then the big thing happens. Wait, before that. He meets up with Chloe in the waiting room of the jailhouse.
And they are definitely going to be the love interests.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was a dick move, he immediately asks her for her number.
Hey, I know we just escaped certain death by lions.
And you just got, like, your husband just cheated on you, fiance, whatever.
But, like...
I might have some lion questions later, so...
Yeah.
Can I get those digits?
Alright, I guess I'll give you my number.
This is the only way. That's why he's single so far, is this is the only way he knows how to meet women.
To get them attacked and then save them. And then he gets a call from, who else?
Abraham.
Ol' Abraham.
The best. Stuck up in a tree at the end of last episode after being mauled by lions. And he gets the call, and we get like a brief cutaway where the phone is on the ground. We saw it fall.
Oh.
The lions definitely called Jackson Oz, which
Yeah.
On purpose.
Oh man, I'm just realizing that because I thought it was like, well, that's weird. The lion butt dialed like specifically this person, but now that literally just hit me.
Which means
the lion called him.
Which means either that Abraham has pictures of all of his contacts in his phone, which is something that no human being actually does.
Yes.
Or that the lions can also read, as well as understand English.
Oh, yeah.
And that the lions had been stalking them because, like, how would they know who Jackson Oz is?
Well, he was in their field a while ago.
Yeah, but, like, did they ever say, like, oh, you're Jackson Oz?
There's going to be a scene in, like, a couple episodes where they find, like, all the Swede stuff. They had, like, a bunch of iPads and stuff, and the lions have been Facebook stalking Jackson Oz.
Yeah, it's just everything's lined with...
That'd be awesome.
And so we cut away from that. That's going to get resolved in a bit. We go to Slovenia, where just a sort of, like a little mini-series. This is like the definition of a C-plot, where it doesn't affect, like, the main story at all, except just to sate our bloodlust.
Yeah.
Like,
it's to give us a break from the exposition.
That's true. It's a very exposition-heavy episode. I feel like the show's sort of heavy exposition.
Oh, if it's like this the whole time, it's going to be so exhausting.
I hope there's like a peak, and then it just, like, kind of gets action-y.
But these two adults are whose names I don't know that we learn.
We don't learn the names at all. We don't learn the name of the kid, I don't think.
They're adopting a Slovenian child. They don't understand his language.
They're awful people.
Yeah.
They've made no effort to understand his language. He doesn't understand them. And he has, like, a brief interaction with a dog.
The dog from Frasier.
Yeah, the dog from Frasier. He, like, which is the hotel's dog, which is not, like, a thing I normally...
Think is real?
What's the dog's name in Frasier?
Eddie.
Eddie. No,
Yeah.
this one was Max.
This one was Max, and somehow...
So this was Frasier's brother.
And he has a brief thing, and they're like, how are we going to keep a child entertained when he doesn't speak our language for 2 days?
For 2 whole days? How are we gonna take care of this child that we're adopting for the rest of his life?
Yeah.
Like,
After the 2 days, no problem.
Yeah.
Boarding school.
well, they're going to sit him down in front of the TV, and he's going to learn English like that.
We're gonna sit him down with some Sesame Street.
And they're like, what do you want to do? And he I guess understands that enough to be like, he picks up a brochure and is like, I want to go get mauled by tigers. Like,
yeah, it's for like a circus, and like the only word he knows is like tiger. Because I guess that's Slovenian for tiger.
yeah, I guess tiger in Slovenian. Yeah.
It's like tiger.
And then we go back to Botswana, where Jackson Oz has now teamed up with his captors, and they're going out to save Abraham.
Yeah, because apparently he knows his captors.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's had multiple run-ins for the same thing.
Yeah, he's been put in prison multiple times for annoying tourists.
Yeah.
Which, like, the guard has, like, a very, like, he's very much the Jaws, like, the mayor from Jaws.
Yeah.
He's like, this is nothing. People want to see the lions. That's all we got.
And, like, of course, he has to throw in the whole, like, oh, I'm Abraham's friend, too.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with him.
In a way, I'm more his friend than you are.
Yeah, so, sorry, Budro.
They go out to the truck, and, like, Abraham's, like right over there.
Yeah.
He pulls out his binoculars at the truck and he sees him. He's in the tree line. You could see him without the binoculars.
I think the sole reason for that, because they check out the car first. They see the guy who's dead in there. But then whenever he busts out the binoculars, you get some sick quick zooms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just to build tension.
They were very excited about their new camera they got.
But yeah, and then they're like, oh, he's right over there in this tree.
And then they run off to go see him, and we cut to the next scene.
Yeah, like they get him, or...
They don't. They get him in a minute. We cut to another scene to really just break away from this tense scene of saving. We go to the journalist who's
the boring white lady,
which is it's a weird scene, like because there's an important thing that happens and it's out of nowhere basically, where she's researching Raiden.
Researching.
Yeah, well she's like just going through a Huffington Post
she's
articles.
going through blogs of people who don't like this company.
Yeah,
and that's supposed to be her research.
But then she gets a note and she like stands up and she's like being evicted in like 3 days because she doesn't have her rent. And while she's talking to this landlord who's a real asshole.
Yeah, he's the landlord's son who also uses it as leverage to ask her out.
He's like, come with me, we're gonna go out and when she says no, he's like, oh, well, then I guess I can't help you.
Yeah.
Real fucking dick. But while, that's happening, we're paying attention. So far, her interactions with men have just been like, hi, I'm a dick. I'm an asshole to you all the time, no matter what. And, we have to assume she's right about Raiden at this point, because the show wouldn't have held on to it for this long. Even though there's not really, hasn't been good, evidence for it leading up to this episode.
Any.
No.
But so while she's talking to the landlord, she's getting hacked. We see her computer in the foreground, it closes all the things and then opens up and she something happens on her computer and then it puts the stuff back up. Oh, the webcam turned on. I was gonna wonder how they knew that she wasn't looking at her computer. But I guess they looked through the webcam, and then so she's getting hacked by somebody. We have no idea who. It's not mentioned at all. Again, there's no reference to hacking.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole episode just alludes to some greater power structure that's aware of these things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have any clue who they are.
It's probably Ravenclaw.
Yeah, and the landlord. One more thing I want to point out. He put the moves on her, but also he's the kind of guy who's it's my mom actually is the one evicting you, not me.
It added the plural. He used the term, my mom's.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so he's also, I guess, kind of hip. Or his mothers are in a, loving...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the level of representation we're at in TV right now.
Yeah, there's no context.
Referencing that there, somewhere in the world, there are indeed lesbians. And then we go back to Botswana, where they save Abraham. They pull him down from the tree.
Yeah.
They get approached by lions, and he's like, I'm going to shoot the lion. Frank Jackson On's like, don't shoot the lion. And then they all get in the... And, the lions don't really... They just sort of...
Creep menacingly.
Yeah. Which is the intent, I suppose. They're like, yeah. Get out of here.
Hey, this is our field.
Hey, you come out in our field in the night with the tall grass and you insulting us? You don't think we'll attack you?
I mean, the lions are we'll get to the lions later. They save Abraham and they drive away, and that's basically all that happens in that scene.
Yeah, that's the whole.
Which a little bit tense, but you kind of got the sense that the lions were just
But they had to kind of ham-fist it in because the guy's like, I don't know why they didn't pounce.
Mm-hmm.
You don't? Because everyone's been telling you.
Mm-hmm. And then we go back to Slovenia for just a scene where they sit and watch some tigers in a circus, and the wife is like, I don't think this is good.
Yeah.
Animals in circuses are bad. And we're all of us in the room just sort of nod yeah, I also agree with this. Not hard to
This is cruel.
I agree. Maybe.
Yeah,
And I mean,
maybe there shouldn't be a guy with a whip, like, whipping these animals right in front of you.
this goes back to like a theory I think we floated in the first episode, which is this might be made by animals.
Yeah,
This TV show might be made by animals. And like by the end of it, we may have been radicalized onto the animal side.
Yeah.
We'll get notifications by the representatives.
But that's all that happens in that scene is they sit and watch the circus for a minute and like are like, this is bad, and the husband's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Don't think about it.
We're
too
just
hard.
a couple rich white people in a poorer white country,
Yeah.
just adopting one of their kids.
Whatever.
It's vacation.
And then
Vacation.
we go to class with the professor who just sort of is saying the end of his thing, and then the woman walks in, and then he's like, class over.
Yeah, like it doesn't even. It was funny though, because like I was thinking during that, like it doesn't even sound like the end of a lecture.
No.
It just sounds like she walked in, and it could have been at any point. Like they could have been there for like 10 minutes. Like, all right, class dismissed. Get out of here.
But professor, you haven't taught us anything yet.
Like, well,
over.
I don't know. Go pet a dog. Whatever. And she comes in and she basically is just like, I think that Raiden did this. Here's like the chemical they're using.
2,4-D.
2,4-D, and it's like messing up the animals. And he's like, that still sounds like bullshit, but a little bit less.
Like, are you obsessed or something?
Yeah.
Because you seem obsessed. And she's like, yeah, I'm obsessed. Like, why are you obsessed?
They murdered my hometown.
Like, and nothing other than that.
I mean that.
Like,
That's fair. I mean that's not incorrect. I assume any corporation could just like stranglehold a like small town and destroy it. But that's sort of a very like anti-capitalist thing for this CBS.
Well, it's just anti-corporate.
Oh yeah.
They haven't said anything about capitalism, just anti-corporate. So that's how news generally is.
Mm-hmm.
We're very pro small business. It's just anti-corporate.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, we'll learn more about it.
Yeah, the food from these the pesticides from small businesses would have been way better than Raiden Global. Yuck.
And then we go back to Botswana for another sort of short scene where we meet Jackson Oz's mom. We've now met his entire nuclear family.
Doctor.
She's a doctor. That's true. He might have a secret brother.
Evil animal siblings.
Oh, one can only hope.
So there were no bite marks on Abe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They did this methodically. They pulled him up that tree like a little babe.
Mm-hmm.
Little babe.
And yeah, he's like, oh, maybe my dad was right, and he tells that to his mom, and his mom is like, no, you're full of shit. Like,
that one's later.
Oh, is that later?
Yeah.
Okay, his mom just like is. What does his mom say in that scene? Is she just
in that one, she just talks about how lucky he is, and also like without being too alarmed, brings up the fact that there were 22 dead people.
right?
Mhm.
And
Like 22 dead people. Later on, she goes on to like her whole career there. She'd seen 5 mauled people.
Yeah.
Like
in like a dozen years, and also they are back at like this in camp, like that the same exact style of camp that got like just decimated by lions like last episode, and is the most open and like vulnerable place you could possibly be.
And it's not like they could tell, but there was also that scene in the last one where they were watching the kid who turns out to not be Abraham's son.
Oh,
Instead,
yeah.
it's his cousin,
Yeah,
which not too weird, I guess.
I thought for
Very
sure they
confusing.
said it was his son, but
Yeah.
we must have it wrong.
We'll go back and check. later.
It's super confusing.
Very.
Then we go back to for just like a brief scene with Chloe in a car. She has like she has PTSD about this like lion like mauling, and she's just like having a like flashback in a car, and that happens, and then she gets a call and denies it, and that's the end of the scene. She just like this person's life sucks.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. They go back to Botswana.
Oh, yeah, that's
With
the one.
the cousin,
Yes.
and they watch his dad. They watch his dad doing one of his lectures, and he's like saying the same sort of stuff he's always been saying, which is, why don't these animals organize into a union?
Yeah.
That's all.
And then he feeds an otter, and then it's like, watch.
He smacks the table. The otter's like, whoa, let's hands
He's
up.
like, hey.
And he's like, see, the otter isn't afraid of me. See, this otter is a killer.
This otter that's 100% domesticated that I just fed food.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I really want this to be a continuous thing. I want like a side like episode that's just about this man and his otter. He wakes up every morning and the otter's like staring at him from the countertop. Like, and they eat like tense breakfasts together.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they introduced the video thing though, because like they introduced the fact that he doesn't have all of the videos, which comes into play later.
Right.
And also, they try to push the like, oh, Jackson Oz is this genius, brilliant man. He like, he turns to the kid. He's like, "Do you know fight or flight?" The kid's like, "Oh, that thing that every person in ever learns in school in like 7th grade."
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's where you either fight or you run away. And they're like, yeah, you got it. Like,
Nice.
like they keep going on about how like intelligent this dude is, like how he's some genius. Not once has he done anything. Like,
Well, his dad was a crazy genius, and he's not like saying like all animals are like just as smart as people. And so everyone's like, oh, well, he must be, like, pretty good, then.
He can run away from lions.
That's true.
He's smart enough to do that.
And he did
not
lift one...
effectively, though, because it was, like, luck and the lions letting him go
That's
pretty
true.
much the whole time.
And then he goes and sees Abraham, who's, like, awake, and who explains what happened, which is... We already basically saw what happened.
Yeah.
But he did add the fact that when he was in the truck and, like, the lion came upon him, he made his peace in that moment.
Yeah.
He was like, well, time to die.
So that gives us some... Like, he's just the coolest guy.
He is... that is, like, the calmest... Because I can tell you, even if, like, I could come to that conclusion over, like, over some period of time, it definitely couldn't happen in the back of a truck with a lion facing it down. I wouldn't be
lion, like 2 feet in front of you.
well, this is it, I suppose. I lived a good life.
God.
And he essentially like says what we saw, which is the lion slashed him and knocked him unconscious.
Yeah. And
then
then...
throat chop. And dragged him up a tree. And Jackson Oz is like, I think these lions are sending a message.
They left you alive to send their message.
Which is...
And then the mom gives him like a scornful look.
Yeah. And is like, no, there's no such... Your dad was like crazy. There's no like
I
way.
think that was in a little bit.
Ah,
Yeah,
damn, I
yeah.
keep thinking that's earlier.
No, it's okay. It happens.
There's a lot of scenes of him and his mom sort of having.
It just feels like it. It's just all over the place.
It's just cut into... There's so many subplots and cuts.
Yeah.
It's hard to know exactly what happened when.
And then we go back to the circus where they finish watching the tigers. It's tigers in the circus, not lions.
They're the same thing.
And they're like, did you like that, son? And he's like, yeah, that was, he speaks in Slovenian, whatever, And he's like, the dad turns to the wife and is like, see, it's not so hard, and turns back in those 2 seconds. That kid is gone.
They've had this kid for like days. Already have lost him.
And he crawls out from under the tent and sees the tiger cage, which at first it looks like they're just behind like a crowd barrier that they use at stadiums, but they are in a cage, and the kid just like walks over to them, and like this is just like a tease to keep you watching, because the rest of the episode is a lot of exposition.
It's very boring,
and the circus scenes are so short and so telegraphing.
You're like, I know for a fact this guy's gonna get chomped up. One of these guys is gonna get chomped up, because it even starts like it's framed like a scene where a guy would get chopped up, because it's like the show's ended and this guy does the
He does
Beastmaster does the whole like Jesus pose
And
for his
you
applause.
think from the side, just
the whole time I'm like, this is it, but no.
No, it's fine. We cut away from the kid just staring at the lion case, and we go back to the titular zoo, where Mitch and the journalist are talking to an employee at the zoo, who has informed them that the 2 lions that they killed in the first episode have been destroyed.
Meanwhile, she is like visibly jealous of the only other woman she's like been in a room with around this guy.
I mean, that woman also, like, it's wild to me that these 2 women are like into Mitch, the like creepy like pathologist guy who's like just he has not yet said one word that has been like had a positive tone to it.
Yeah.
It's hard to like get the vitriol across by just describing it, but like literally every time someone points something out to him, he's like like
here's why you're wrong. Here's why I'm right.
I'm a scientist.
Where's your degree?
And they basically the thing of the scene is the employee agrees because she's apparently in love with Mitch to let them borrow a lion cub so they can run tests on it. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Anything to help.
We're very lax with our lion security after the lion murders last week.
Oh yeah, because they even describe it as a few days ago. So this is within days, and the scene opens up with her saying like, "Oh yeah, we got rid of the lions. We destroyed the remains." And even the like pathologist was like, "Already? Like who? What?"
It's probably Brayden.
Yeah, and he's like,
"Oh,
that's not any proof that there's anything fishy going on."
I'm coming more over to the journalist side now that I'm pretty sure she's right, and that like Mitch is just it's just because Mitch is a real dick.
Yeah, and it sucks because like I don't want her to be right. There's no reason for her to be right. It's entirely luck on her side.
She got it now. She's done the research now. Now she has like a decent theory at least.
Well, she didn't even do research.
That's true. She did just read.
She like read a couple blog posts. She looked into like the thing that happened at her town. It's infuriating to me because they're gonna play it out like, oh, she knew the whole time. Like, no, she was incredibly paranoid, and it just so happened.
Well, I mean, in today's society, maybe it helps me a little bit paranoid about the businesses,
everything.
About everything. About everything.
It was made by animals.
All conspiracies are true.
We go to France again.
We do go to France. Do we go to Botswana next?
Botswana. Yeah. And this is his conversation with his mom.
Where she's like, the dad is like, your dad was crazy. Like, they're basically talking about, is this theory that all animals are attacking all humans true? And the mom is like, no, that's your dad was like, he became untethered, and like, it's why would you bring that up? We like moved to Africa to get away from him, or to Botswana, specifically Botswana.
Yeah, that's Africa. All right, Kim Kardashian.
Wow. I got nervous, and I was like, I don't want to say. And like,
I understand.
Don't hurt
Keep
me
going.
like this. I don't. He essentially that's all this scene is she's like, you're crazy, and then like in 2 scenes from now she's gonna be like, oh, maybe you had something there.
Yeah, like less than 3 minutes because the scenes are very rapid in this episode.
They're quick. They got a lot to get in there.
Let me see. There was like
we
15 or 16 scenes.
Yeah, there were a lot.
For like 40 minutes, so each one is like 3 minutes tops.
We hit the circus again, and the kid walks up to the tigers, and nothing, like, the parents just find him and are like, hey, get away from the tigers, and then they buy him a teddy bear, and we're all and everyone, like, all the audience is just like, no!
Like, I thought for sure that was it.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
It was a tease. It was a big tease.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Paris, where we learn Chloe is in the French Secret Service, because this is based on a James Patterson novel, and that is exactly the sort of bullshit he is on all the time. Does that mean... So the question is, does that mean that she was in Botswana as part of, like, the secret... No, because
No, that was her vacation.
Yeah,
her honeymoon.
It really, she wasn't lying. It really was her vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she gets cuckolded, as that man says later.
That's later. We gotta get to that because that was bizarre.
Yeah, so she walks up and some lady's waiting for her. Looks nothing like her. Apparently it's her sister.
Who's
And so they're like real awkward. And I'm like, is this like the friend that slept with her fiance?
no.
And she's like, is this how it's going to be now? You never talk to me? One of the best things. I don't know what was worse. Getting chased by lions. Witnessing like
22 people die in front of
20
you.
people dying in front of me. Getting just mauled by lions. Or having my sister sleep with my fiance.
It's such a like.
Like, I think there's clearly
Yeah.
one of those things that is in every way worse.
It's such a like soap opera-y thing to do, where it's like what do these characters care about? And it's whatever is important to this scene right now.
Yeah.
Even though, like in the grand scheme of things, it's like, well, lions just attacked me, so everything else in my life is meaningless comparatively. I'm going back to my job after a couple of days.
Like, lions attacked me. Also, a lion guy, though I think he's an idiot. I do. But also a lion guy's pretty sure that they're working together. But no, this is the most important thing going on.
And then we go back to Botswana. Like, we cut from the fiance goes into the, or not the Chloe goes into the bathroom and cries, and then we cut to Botswana, where basically we're just watching a bunch of body bags get unloaded. It's like a very dark scene, and there's a bunch of people crying, and it's not great, and it has a lot of body bags.
Yeah, and this is the scene where the mom's like, you know what I said like 5 minutes ago about everyone being crazy and you're going crazy and everything? Well, the lions.
They're not going after people's neck, which is how a lion... I assume that they did their research. I don't know how lions hunt, but I assume they're correct that lions go for the neck. And these people got their femoral arteries instead. But, like, that means that these lions are doing, like, the closest equivalent they have to, like, just committing war crimes.
Yeah.
Like, these lions are, like...
And it also means that these lions have an understanding of human anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they're not just like... I really thought they would be, like... If they were this smart, they'd be, like, tactical. They'd be like, we're fighting back. Like, nature is going to save itself. But they're cruel.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to watch you.
They're not on the defensive. They're straight up attacking humanity.
They're cruel, but they're also sending messages.
Yeah.
For some reason.
And then the mom sort of turns on the dad, who she was, like, crying about how much she hated him a couple of scenes ago. And is like, you're so, like, curious and determined, just like your father.
You're a genius, kid.
Just like your dad.
Just like your dad. Your daddy.
And she's like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to send you to Tokyo, because we haven't been on enough continents for this movie.
There wasn't even a reason. It was just somehow he found his way to Tokyo.
He got to well, I assume that's going to be explained in the next...
The executor of the father's will has something there, but we're definitely going to find out he's still alive. He faked his death. 100%.
He's still alive. He faked his death.
He faked his death. And he's so upset at the scientific community that he is somehow behind this.
Ooh. Or he's just out there and he's got a lion costume on. He's undercover.
He's with the lions. Not even like a realistic one, but like a Halloween.
Yeah, guys. He's just doing a Scooby-Doo impression, and they know, but they're like sort of they're giving him the like they're playing along just for their own amusement.
Okay.
So she's like, you're going to go to Tokyo. We cut away.
This is where it gets spicy.
This is where we
finally something happens.
I mean, we don't even get to like the actual thing, but like the dog. They get back to the hotel, and the dog Max, this little Boston Terrier, has taken the tiger toy they bought for their adopted son. And the dad's like...
They finished adopting him. They signed the papers.
Yeah, they're like, now he is ours. And they're both so happy.
But immediately.
The dog is like, I got this. And the dad's like, come here, boy. And the dog, nah. And turns and just runs out.
Of the entire building. Like, it can open doors.
And the dad follows it for a long time.
All through town.
Yeah.
Like, really far away, like, night falls.
And,
like,
yeah, and, like...
he goes onto private property.
Very clearly, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, it pops back to L.A.
Yeah.
And they're experimenting on this little lion.
Yeah, they've attached some electrodes to its brain. They're, like, trying to, like, test it, and he's like, its brain's different from how lions' brains are supposed to be. I forget the exact...
Hypergamma frequency.
Oh, yeah, hypergamma frequencies.
The essential, like, thing is, like, some science flim-flam that, like, the writers came up with, but something's weird with this lion brain.
Yeah, lions don't have hypergamma frequencies.
And they're both like, whoa, and then the lion starts to wake up.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no.
After 20 minutes of being anesthetized.
Right. So not only, I guess, are the lions' like brains working harder, they're also more immune to tranquilizers, which is, they're like just like adding like stuff to these animals. Like they're becoming much, much more like, it's less like all animals are attacking humans as all animals are becoming like super animals.
Yeah, all animals are just super villains at this point.
And
the lady calls him, the one that
the
there's
employee at the zoo.
Feud between the women.
And she's like, he calls her because he's like, I think we underdosed the lion. And can we give him some more? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't
She's like, yeah, you can kill him for all I care. The big cats are going crazy.
all the big cats in the zoo are just like staring at her and like roaring and like.
And then she's like, it started 20 minutes ago. And they started the operation at 10, and it just has him looking. It has him look at the clock, and it's like 10:20. Must be a coincidence. Then they give him another shot, and like you could hear over the phone how angry the animals get when this little lion gets the other shot of anesthesia.
And so she hangs up on them, and the journalist is like, "What's that?" Like, see, something's going on, and Mitch is still like really dismissive of her, even though he's about to float the theory that I think that these lions are psychic.
Yeah.
I think they're communicating. Yeah. I think they're communicating long distance.
With their brain. Like, that's the only... like, they're definitely not yelling.
like, excuse me, I thought a pharmaceutical company was, like, a little muddy in their ethics department.
And you were like, that's crazy. I can't imagine.
And you're like, hey, I think that all of these lions are X-Men.
And then we go back to Slovenia for like, this is like, they saved this for the end of the episode. They knew what we were after. They knew like what we came to this show for, and I feel like this is going to be a common thing like, hey, like I know there's a lot of exposition going on, and there's a lot of stuff you don't care about, but like,
this is what you do.
This is what's going to keep you.
And we love you.
Coming back next week.
Yeah, we love you, the consumer. And they do. They show it in strange ways. Like, it's an abusive relationship we're in while we're watching Zoo. Yeah. We're trapped. 100%. We can't get away. It's awful. But they keep us coming back.
The dad gets led just like so
like a horrible amount. Like it's probably like a $10 toy, and he's walked across like unfamiliar terrain,
far enough away that no one's gonna hear what's about to happen to him, presumably, because he gets into this dark alley, and there's a horror movie moment of he like looks to the right, and there's a body.
Yeah, and well, even before that, like it shows this place where this dog's at, and it looks like a ruin from like Lord of the Rings. Like there is nothing good that has ever happened there.
Or it looked like Buffalo Bill's basement.
Yeah, just decrepit and dark. Like
this camera just swinging around. Like there's just like 8 bodies in this like alley,
all just like eaten.
Which is like the implication is this like Boston Terrier is just leading people away. But what's it stealing from everyone else? That like
it might have just been like homeless people, maybe.
I guess so, but how does it like even draw them? Like
maybe like a Lassie type thing. Because even as far as that, they were planning. They're like, we got to get them to trust us.
What's that? There's a kid stuck in that dark alleyway, and it's he turns around and there's like 8 stray dogs, like the mean dogs. Some of them
probably not even strays.
Yeah, one of them had a collar at least.
Very, very mean looking.
And it cuts away, but you know what's going down.
Yeah, you know what happens. It gets visited later in the most badass way possible, and that's what's so confusing about this show.
It has
like
its moments.
The techniques they use to build tension, and there's certain things they do, like the quick zooms, just very like flattering things cinematically, and the writing is just god awful in every other respect.
We go back to the hotel, right?
No, we go to Botswana next.
No.
The hotel's like...
Yeah, because they kept us waiting.
Yeah.
They kept us waiting on it, and that's what I'm talking about.
Jackson Oz is like getting in his car to drive to Tokyo, and Abraham comes out and is like, I'm coming too, because I love anime.
He's like,
Japanese
women are sexy.
He's like, I'm sort of a bit of a weeaboo. If you... I love the artsy Hayao Miyazaki films, but also everything else.
But also the lesser known Japanese things like.
Have you heard of a show called Naruto?
I'm a bit of a connoisseur.
Jackson Oz is like, you can't come with me to Tokyo. It's too dangerous. Stay here in this lion infested.
You just got attacked.
Yeah.
Like,
Stay here in this like camp. That's exactly like the one that 20 fucking some people
got murdered at. And they
so awful.
They just get in the car and drive away.
Yeah, they get in the car, drive off into the sunset.
Now we go back to Slovenia, where the kid has just learned to say "dada" and "mama."
But what prompted it? And it's funny because like, so there's dogs, like ravenous dogs barking in the distance, and the mom's like looking out into the night, and the kid says "dada." She's like, yeah, dada. Like, that is a genius touch.
And then
that's
she's like,
genius.
She points herself to the mama, and he's like, dada, mama, I get it. All right.
I mean,
then they're scratching at the door, and I'm thinking like,
they're gonna get mauled. Like, yeah, I thought it was
all. It's good old Eddie,
the Boston Terrier. He's still undercover. He's in.
He comes in. Toy.
Yeah, he has the toy.
He comes in and he's clean. There's no blood on Eddie because Eddie's the face.
Yeah, he's the face of the operation.
Eddie's the brains behind the thing. Wait, it's Max. It's actually Max, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's Eddie. I've decided.
Yeah. Eddie's better.
If Eddie's gonna stick around, it's Eddie definitely.
I hope he's a recurring character.
I hope so too. I hope he's the mastermind.
Yeah.
I hope there's a scene where they find like an underground lair and the chair spins around and there's a Boston Terrier chewing a milk bone.
That means Frasier's in this world.
Frasier's
mastermind. Definitely in this world, and I'm very excited to see Frasier get like taken apart by pigeons. So we the dog comes in, does the coldest shit ever, sits down next to the kid, and the kid's like, I love you, dog, you have killed my father.
Okay, so here's the thing. Remember when we said the tigers were a red herring, they didn't kill the guy?
Yeah.
A tiger did kill the guy.
You're right. Symbolically.
Oh. That's pretty good.
They got us.
No, that's a good. I like that subplot.
That whole like little. I think it's because there's very little words. They don't like.
There's no like character building.
It's
other
a lot
than
of
these people
like
are awful.
Basic storytelling, like effects, and it's just like that would be a nice little short like. That would be like a short film I would show to get people excited about.
Yeah, that would be like
show.
if this was a Pixar movie.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be their thing.
And then last scene of the episode, we go back to Paris where Chloe is walking home. And this man in a coat, like a pea coat, walks up to her, who's, part of some mysterious organization. And he's like, I have to talk to you about 2 important things. And she's like, what? And he's like, don't worry, one of them isn't how you're being cuckolded.
Your sister?
It's like, wow, that's a weird burn that you've just done for no...
You just met this person.
There's no reason to do that. I guess he's just showing that, like, I know. Like, I guess he's like, it's a power play, but I feel like there's other things you could say to me that would
like you could have brought up any of the stuff in Africa.
Yeah.
Like...
Cuckolded is such a, like...
It's such an aggressive term.
I mean, back then, though, it didn't have the same sort of cultural baggage that it has now here in the year 2019.
I guess.
But, like, it's still wild. And he's like, I need to talk to you about this lion attack and also these wild dog attacks in Slovenia. So I guess that's happening in the past a little bit.
Well, I think that, like, everything's happening chronologically in the show, but, like, that was later on in the same night that there were dog attacks.
Okay.
But, I mean, those bodies were dead for a while, so they had already had dog attacks. Mm-hmm. But even still, like, how would they not know that, like, 20 fucking people had been killed and eaten by dogs?
Mm.
I don't know. I guess they led them out into the country.
I guess so. I mean, the smell would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
But dogs, you know what dogs are good at?
Smelling.
Digging.
Wow.
Digging graves.
I guess so.
And he's there to recruit her to a special... I think we're gonna, like, in the next episode, maybe the episode after, we're gonna get a sort of Avengers coming together of all the, like, different people who we've seen thus far. And that's sort of, like, the cliffhanger that they end on. And it's... Yeah. I think this episode... I'm not sure if I preferred it to the first one. I definitely like I think the dog in Slovenia was the best we've seen of the show.
Yeah, that was kill of the whole thing so far.
Kill of the whole thing so far.
It was the only kill in this one, which is disappointing.
I think kill of the week, I did cut it out of the last episode. Because there was only 2 kills.
Yeah.
And so I think we should just keep a tally of, like, what our favorite...
Okay.
Yeah.
Over the whole episode.
My favorite kill is definitely
Frasier's
dog.
Frasier's dog did a very good crime. I think let's do our.
I think what makes it the best to me is that his hands are technically clean, but he's the guilty party.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think it's time we do what animal we want to see kill somebody next, and then we wrap this thing up and get out of here.
Yeah.
William.
I do have mine first.
I think you had one.
Yeah, I thought about this driving to work the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why, but my vision is the main characters will be going through the woods, and then they see that what they think is people hanging, but it's like, oh no. These people have been speared through, like Vlad Tepes and Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula. But then they start moving. It's like, oh no, those are giraffe heads. They've gone through those bodies and are wearing them as trophies.
Are you picturing them, like, with the, like, their, like, weird knobby horns things through, or, like, all the way down their neck?
All the way down.
Yeah.
Like a shish kebab.
Yeah, like a shish kebab.
Do you have one, Dallas? Or...
Yeah. It kind of follows the same premise. Like, I just imagine, like, some dude screaming, and they like, go to help him, and he's, like, on the ground. He's like, help me! And then, like, a groundhog, like, aliens through his chest. Like, this adorable little groundhog. It's just looking around.
I want a character, a sort of a Newman-esque character, a real Newman.
Newman.
Ideally Newman. I want
like actual Newman.
I want him sort of coming through. I want there to be some sort of building that's been overtaken by the jungle, and he's, like, kind of cautiously going through it, and he knows he's in danger, and he's, like, looking every which way, and then he stops because he heard something, and there's nothing in front of him, there's nothing behind him, and he looks up, and the ceiling above him is, like, bearing some sort of weight, and it breaks, and just 40 porcupines come raining down on him, quills out, and he is just, like, acupunctured to death.
It zooms in on his face, he's like, Jerry. And then, like, it just cuts away to here.